Based on that, Jesus' parable that we just heard, I'd like to tell you another story that someone has written based on that parable. Once there was a king who had 3 sons, each one with a special talent. The first son had a special talent for growing fruit. The second had a talent for raising sheep. And the third one had a talent for playing the violin. Once the king had to go overseas on important business. Before departing, he called his 3 sons together and told them he was departing, and he was depending upon them now to keep the people contented in his absence. Now, for a while, things went well. But then there came the winter, and it was a bitter and a cold winter, and there was an acute shortage of firewood. Thus, the first son was faced with a very difficult decision. Should he allow the people to cut down some of his beloved fruit trees for firewood? When he saw the people shivering with cold, he finally allowed them to do so. The second son was also faced with a difficult decision. Food became very scarce. Should he allow the people to kill some of his beloved sheep for food? When he saw the children crying for hunger, his heart went out to them, and he allowed them to kill some of the sheep. Thus the people had firewood for their fires and food for their tables, and in those ways the people were content. Nevertheless, the harsh winter continued and to oppress them, and their spirits began to sag, and there was no one to cheer them up. They turned to the fiddler, but he refused to play for them. And in the end, things got so bad that in desperation, many of the people emigrated. They left their beloved country because the conditions there were so bad. Not unlike what happens in so many parts of our world today. Then one day the king arrived back home. He was terribly sad to find that so many people had left his kingdom. He called in his 3 sons to give an account of what had gone wrong. The first son said, "Father, I hope you're not mad with me, but the winter was very cold, and so I allowed the people to cut down some of the trees for firewood." The second son said, "Father, I hope you won't be angry with me, but because when the food got scarce, I allowed the people to kill some of my sheep." On hearing this, far from being angry, the father embraced his 2 sons and told them that he was proud of them. The third son came forward carrying his fiddle with him. "Father," he said, "I refused to play because you weren't here to enjoy the music." "Well then," said the king, "play me a tune now, because my heart is full of sorrow." The son raised the violin and the bow, but he found that his fingers had grown numb because of lack of exercise. Now, no matter how hard he tried, he could not get them to move. The father said, "You could have cheered up the people with your music, but you refused. If the kingdom is half empty, the fault is yours. And now you can no longer play, and that is your punishment." It's a powerful story based on our gospel today. Last weekend, Pastor Larry got us off to a great start on our weekend Lenten series with John Ortberg's book. If you want to walk on water, you got to get out of the boat. What a great sermon title. What a great book title. Today we are focusing on chapter 2 in that book, and what a fantastic chapter that is. Ortberg is a great storyteller, and I love the way he applies these lessons to our lives. I hope that you're appreciating the book as much as I am. There's some books available in the front pew or in the class at 11 o'clock if you still need one. Chapter 2 is titled Boat Potatoes, and Pastor Larry introduced that topic last week. And the sermon title for today is The Tragedy of the Unopened Gift. John Ortberg writes, "Anytime a gift is given, the recipient must choose to respond in one of 2 ways. The first way says, 'This gift is so valuable, it cannot be risked.' The The second way of responding says, this gift is so valuable, it must be risked. To leave a gift in the box is to thwart the desire of the giver. There is no tragedy like the tragedy of the unopened gift. In Jesus' parable today, the first two sons risked their gifts, and they multiplied. The third son did not. He literally buried his gift. In the story of Peter walking on water in Matthew 14, Peter chose to open his gift, to take a risk, to step out of that boat, and to walk on water. I love the way Charles Spurgeon preached about that 100 plus years ago in England. Charles Spurgeon said, anybody can walk on land, but it takes faith to be a water walker. So John Ortberg talks about this, the high cost of being a boat potato. He says it leads to stagnation, unrealized potential, unfulfilled longings. It leads to a sense that I'm not living my life, the one that I am supposed to live. So in this Lenten season, let's ask ourselves some of these questions. Are there any sinful patterns in my life that need to be confronted and changed? Or what are the abilities and gifts that have never seemed to get cultivated and deployed? I like the next question. What bold prayers have we never prayed? What exhilarating risks have we never taken for the kingdom of God? What sacrificial gifts have we never offered to God or to God's people? What lives have we never touched? Ortberg says, and you're sitting in a recliner with a shriveled soul and forgotten dreams, and you realize there's a world of desperate need. And a great God calling you to be part of something bigger than yourself. You see the person you should become, but did not. You've never followed your calling. That calling is the theme for next week's message. You never got out of the boat. In Jesus' parable today of the three sons, the first two took some risks. They worked hard with what they had. But the third son decides that he isn't going to take the risk, because if he loses it, he knows he'll be in big trouble. So he finds a safe spot, digs a hole, and buries it. He knows he won't gain anything that way, but he also knows that he can't lose anything that way either. You see the difference, the different perspectives between the first two sons and the third son? The first two are determined to make a profit. The third is determined not to make a loss. The first two are willing to work hard and take risks. The third doesn't want to risk or to work, or simply wants to hang on to what he has. The first two receive the gift. The third one refuses the gift. The first two recognize the partnership with the master. The third rejects the partnership. The first two see money as an opportunity. The third one sees money as a problem. The first two allow the master's gift to change their lives. The third refuses to let the master's gift touch his life. In talking about these three sons, Ortberg warns us about comparing ourselves with other people. He says, God knew exactly what God was doing when he created you.